Good evening, everyone. I would like to start my speech with just a simple question: do you ever think about power outages? And if you do so, raise your hand that you believe that they have increased in recent years in Maine. But those who raise your hand, you are right. But in general, power outages are due to damages of the overground wires by weather or animals, and those are the wires and poles you can see next to the roads and high voltage towers that are cutting through Maine forest. I need my slide. But, sorry, I need the slide. But if you look at this graph where on a horizontal axis, the hours without power are plotted, and on vertical axis, number of interruptions, you can see that Maine is right here compared to other states in the United States in 2022. And if you look at data from 2023, Maine was even further to the right, while US average only slightly shifted. Looking at those graphs, I'm just wondering if you think what's happened to Maine, why Maine it is where it is with power reliability. But in general, there has been some fluctuation in power reliability in the United States. You can see here that in 2020, it was the highest number since that data been started collecting in 2013. And the major events, which are hurricanes, winter storms, and any other natural disasters, are the significant reason for that fluctuation. But those natural disasters and power outages that come with them exacerbate the human losses, and one of the solutions for power reliability is microgrids. So have you heard about microgrids? If you've heard of them, raise your hand. Amazing. You're going to be my fact checkers today. But those who haven't heard about them, microgrids are local electrical networks. They have their own local energy production and consumption and storage. And this could be wind, solar, biomass, lithium-ion batteries, as well will have its local controller that controls all of this, and of course the load, the appliances, and the devices. And all of this can work independently, so it does not have to be connected to the grid. Actually, it can work on its own, but the owner, whoever owns the microgrid, can also decide to connect it to microgrid and switch it on and off at any time, depending on their needs. So in general, that's what's simple how it works. But in general, there's multiple benefits to microgrids. But the most important benefit is the energy independence and resilience, as the consumers themselves who consume the electricity, they're making those decisions, how the network is run, what is used for it. But in general, if we think about winter storm here in Maine and Bar Harbor, and a tree falls on a power line and it cuts out the power to the whole town of Bar Harbor, maybe the Ledgelawn neighborhood that has a microgrid is able to run their necessities and their things are on or even functional as normal, depending on the sizing of the system. Microgrid can be sized for shorter and longer blackouts, and this would of course come at a higher cost. For the microgrid not to face the same fate as the national grid or the wires, the underground wires can be chosen over the overground wires, as the underground wires are limiting just ability for more of a physical damage by that weather and animals. But of course, back to that comes sort of higher cost of installation. Microgrids It's coming. Microgrids are, Microgrids are also majorly are designed with the idea of clean energy production. So the nuanced balance of weather-dependent power production needs to be accompanied by some sort of storage solution. And of course, today, this is the biggest obstacle to wide adoption of microgrids and renewable energy in general, but that's a different topic for a separate TED Talk. But back to benefits of microgrids. As microgrids bring back that local control, right now the national grid is owned by a variety of owners. Those are investor companies, for-profit corporations, municipalities, and co-ops. But the microgrid would be mostly closer locally owned, which means the consumer itself will decide how it's run, how it's operated, and the microgrid can be fit exactly for the community as the consumers themselves decide how it's run and operated. At the same time, microgrid will bring back that, not bring back, but microgrid will make energy consumption maybe more of a bigger of a topic, as when you have to rely on your own energy production, this is when maybe you will ask yourself, is your energy and electricity consumption is reasonable? Maybe I should look into more energy efficient technologies, maybe I should be using less, and this could lead to people switching to simple solutions as to induction stoves, or abandoning TV altogether. But another small advantage of microgrid is the economical benefit. As any human-made structure, microgrid needs maintenance. And this can bring opportunities for local professionals for employment in different areas, especially in those that are remote and are lacking economical activity. Additionally, microgrid bring back local production. There's a potential for it. As, for example, Maine, which is most heating oil-dependent states in the United States, has no crude oil reserves at all, has not even a single oil refinery. It is the most heating oil-dependent, which makes Maine residents the highly sensitive to global crude oil fluctuation and import regulations. But if we imagine that Mainers decide to develop a vast number of networks all around the Maine of the microgrids, which would be hopefully with local production, which means Mainers will not be so sensitive to those changes of prices of crude oil and import regulations. But if you think that wide adoption of microgrids is impossible, we just have to look back into development of the regular national grid, right? The book by The Grid, The Fraying Wires Between Americans and Energy Future by Gretchen Bake explains all the history of how it developed. I would summarize it for you. It all started with small electrical networks that were producing as much electricity as they were consuming, mostly for lighting, by running dynamos, the first electric generators that were run by coal-fired steam engines. And those networks were working independently. Slowly, they were becoming bigger and started to become consolidated, mostly in urban areas, but with Rural Electrification Act of 1936, electric grid even came to rural communities, and even rural people were getting benefits of that. And all of that slowly led to interconnected regions that we have today with the United States and Canada. So the whole idea of microgrids is not new. This is how it all started, where isolated networks were working independently of one another. But today we have a huge advantage as we have this possibility to synchronize with national grid. So if thousands of microgrids, they can work independently, but at the same time, if there is a need, they can synchronize and work all together. So I would not fear the wide adoption of microgrids as we have done it before, and I think we can do it now. And as today I'm advocating for new technologies that require new materials, I would like to emphasize the need for fair and ethical and as environmentally friendly as possible material extraction, as technological development should go hand in hand with human rights. But to finish this talk today, I would like you to think how your personal energy resilience, your communities' energy resilience will improve if you have had a microgrid. Thank you.